Mabuhay and welcome back. This is Module 4B. Now moving on, my fellow human beings, according to Mr. Kovar, the Manunggul jar and the Filipino personhood has things in common. First, they both came from clay and brown in color. Remember the story of Kabunyan in the legend of the three races? Secondly, both imply a journey or a process to complete. The two men in the bangka suggest a journey to the afterlife. Kovar also described pagpapakatao as a process. Lastly, both have the concepts of labas, loob, and lalim. Kovar's concept of personality or pagkatao applies to both the Manunggul jar and the Filipino personhood. According to this article, the jar and the Filipino personhood have characteristic traits following the concepts of labas, external or physical characteristics, loob, internal, and lalim, spiritual. Labas ng pagkatao refers to the external physical characteristic traits like the color of the skin, the height, the distinct nose, the physical build of a person. Loob ng pagkatao refers to the intellectual, emotional, and moral characteristic traits of a person. And lalim ng pagkatao refers to the spiritual characteristic traits of a person and his reverence to spiritual being. These characteristic traits are related in a non-dualistic way. In spirituality, non-dualism, also called non-duality, means not two or one, undivided, without a second. In non-dualism, there is no difference between what is seen as you and what is seen as not you. There is only one. In other words, what is external can also be seen internally and spiritually. These traits cannot be separated. Like Narda and Dharma are two beings in one person. Just like in the example, if we see a person with broad forehead, we connect it with being intelligent. The same is true with a person looking at you with eyebrows almost crossing each other. We would easily think that the person is angry or he must be a brave person. When a person doesn't remove his eyes from you, maybe that person has feelings for you. When we say a person has a bad mouth, we can easily judge that he is fond of saying foul words. The same is true with lalim or spirituality. When you say that a person has a clean spirit, it could mean that the person has a clear conscience. Non-dualism also works with Filipino psychology. The external hipo can also be felt internally in dama. Pigil is external. Timpi is internal. Dinig is external. Ulinig is internal. Tawa is external. Tuwa is internal. Saya is external. Ligaya is internal. Sarap is external. Ginhawa is internal. So, by fellow human beings, that is the Filipino concept of humanities. Very much different from the Western concept, right? Because for us Filipinos, pagpapakatao, being human, is a process of how a human being becomes a Filipino. Not an easy thing to achieve. Because in the study of humanities as pagpapakatao, it is important for us to discover and realize our own identity as Filipinos. Art is the best way to discover who the Filipino is. That is according to Felipe de Leon in his article entitled Defining the Filipino Through the Arts. By doing so, we can build a strong cultural identity. Cultural identity is the worldview of values, belief systems, knowledge, skills and practices, core principles, and ideas shared by a society. According to Felipe de Leon, cultural identity is a sine qua non for becoming active in the world and a source of social empowerment. What is sine qua non? Sine qua non means an essential condition, a thing that is absolutely necessary. That is why cultural identity is essential for a society to be recognized in the world. Rob a people of their identity and they become passive, lost, indolent, uncreative, and unproductive. That is what happens when a nation is colonized by another culture. Because the first objective of a colonizing power is to erase the cultural memory of the conquered people, to induce a collective amnesia about their past and supplant it with the culture of the colonizers. In this lie the roots of Filipino derivativeness and inferiority complex vis-a-vis the West. Let's take a look at our colonial history and understand why we are what we are now. Before colonization, we already had our own cultural identity. So it's not true what they say in some Western history books that when the Spaniards came, we had no culture. As a matter of fact, we had our own system of government, we had our laws, we had our oral tradition, and we had our own belief systems. When the colonizers came, our identity was destroyed. Our culture was westernized, and we were alienated from our own culture. That is why until now we are still confused about our own culture. We are still in the process of reclaiming, affirming, and defining our own culture in our own terms. We still have a long way to go because even if we are already free from the colonizers, there is an unseen power that is conquering us and destroying and making us forget about our culture. That is globalization and technology. Colonial mentality and inferiority complex made Filipino culture a subordinate of Western culture. We tend to look up to the Western culture and make it our standard. This practice alienated us more to our own culture. Our goal and dream is to make the Filipino culture the standard of other cultures. Through the integration of the arts with everyday life, we can do this. We can show our Filipino personhood through arts. And through arts, this is possible. We have to undergo this painful process of pagpapakatao and being proud of who we are. The arts can provide us with the most vivid images of social relations and cultural values. They are perhaps the most lucid symbols of the people's quality of being or consciousness. Contemplating the arts is like reflecting on the psychic template of an artist or cultural community. We have already overemphasized the importance of art in our humanity and in building cultural identity. But despite that, why are the arts and humanities given the least importance? Let me give you an example. If you tell your parents you want to be an artist, how do you think they will react to it? Probably they will discourage you and tell you to look for a career which is more financially stable. Why? I thought we agreed that arts and humanities are important. Even in school, what courses are given priority? Math, science, technology, languages. Where are the arts and humanities? Down below. And given half the time. And in school, we discuss the importance of arts and humanities in making people's lives better. Isn't that ironic? So what do we do about it? You can share your thoughts and ideas on this in our writing assignment below. Meanwhile, contemplate on that question before you go to sleep tonight. In the next module, We will think of an action project in response to that question. So, that's about it, my fellow human beings. This ends our discussion on Module 4, the Humanities and the Filipino Personhood. Thank you very much. And remember, being humans, we become human beings through arts. Mabuhay!